So yesterday we had heard the first section of how Elwyn, Haru, Omoa, Koivi, and 2 other staff members, plus Elwyn's wife and 2 kids, had gone on a dangerous mission up the Turama River to try to reach a particular village where they could set up a base and then begin trying to minister to all the villages down the Turama River. Villages which were cannibal, where they ate other human beings. No other missionaries had ever tried to reach them before. And we heard how God had taken control of Elwyn's schedule. Elwyn had been on a tight schedule and rushing and trying to do things his way. He had even ignored people who wanted him to stop. But God had prepared the way by sending dreams to those people who had been trying to get him to stop. And then God arranged for the delay of having to go back upriver to try to get that 5-man canoe, which turned out to just be a big log in the jungle, so that Elwyn ended up meeting with those people who had had the dream and being able to tell them the story of Jesus. But I told you yesterday that was not the only result of God preparing the way. Elwyn had left Haru, Omoa, Koivi, and 2 other staff. And the reason I keep saying 2 other staff is that I can't find in any of the books on this the names of the 2 others that were with them. But he had left those 5 men there in the jungle working on that 5-man canoe log so that they could use it to go downriver and visit every village. That was the instruction Elwyn had given to Haru. Visit every village. Don't skip a single one. Well, the man who owned the log said, we'll get it done. It'll be done 3 weeks, we'll get it done. I'll get all my villagers to help me. And they knew it always would take months to get a log that big turned into a canoe. But do you know, they did manage to get it done in 3 weeks. Yeah, working incredibly hard. I think that man really wanted the metal axe and the metal knife that they had promised to pay him. Well, while they were still finishing up the 5-man canoe, Haru, Omoa, and Koivi came over to the other 2 staff members. They said, listen, we've already been able to get a hold of a 3-man canoe that one of these other villagers is willing to sell us. We're going to start using that one and head down for a few days down the river to start visiting some of the villages. We don't want to wait. We feel God has prepared the way. So you keep working here to finish up this 5-man canoe and we'll come join you later. So they headed downriver, and they'd stop at a village for a morning or an afternoon for a few hours, and they would pull out their picture roll, and they'd have their Bible, and they would tell the story of Jesus. And they would usually get people who were curious, who wanted to see, oh, this is an interesting thing, oh, they have nice pictures, but it didn't seem like people in these villages were really that interesting. They just thought it was an interesting novelty, but they didn't really have any interest in hearing anything that would change their lives. That didn't make Haru give up. Haru still wanted to go and spread the story of Jesus. He wasn't going to only go to places where it seemed like people were excited. So he didn't quit. And after a couple of days heading downriver, they saw a boy in a canoe. He was standing up in his canoe. Now, you would never stand in one of our modern canoes unless you got a really stable one. But their big dugout canoes are very stable. You could stand in it. He was standing in the canoe, floating on the river, next to the bank, hanging onto a tree branch to keep him floating away. And as they came down the river, he waved to them, called them over. So they came over. And he looked at them and he said, yes, we saw you. We saw you. Come to my village. Haru said, what do you mean you saw us? When did you see us? Oh, we saw you in a dream. Come to my village. Well, Haru knew, don't turn that opportunity down. So he said, very good, where's your village? Is it down the river? No, it is in the side river. What do you mean the side river? There's no other river in this area besides the Turama. No, look. And he pulled the tree branch aside, and this tree branch was actually hanging down, hiding the tributary into the Turama River, the tributary called the Wamuri River. It was very, very narrow at the mouth, and it was easily hidden by all the overhanging branches. They would have missed it if this boy hadn't been there in his canoe watching for them. So they said, well, wonderful, let's go up this river. It was narrow, but they could still paddle along until it widened out. And as they paddled a couple miles up the river, the boy told them what he had meant when he said, we saw you in a dream. My father, his name's Soka. Soka had 3 dreams in a row, all this week. First dream, he see big light shining on the village. Second dream, he see big light shining on the village. Third dream, he see 3 brown men in canoe with a light on them coming on the river. And he wake up next morning, tell me, go, wait for the men. If it hadn't been for that dream, they would have gone right past the Wamuri tributary, never spotting it because of the branches. God had prepared the way again for another village to be met with the story of Jesus. As they arrived to the village called Kumayo, The people were lining the riverbank, waiting for them, and clapping their hands, excited to see them. They had never been greeted with this kind of excitement before. But the people had heard of Sokka's dream, and they said, great light is coming. We don't know what that means, but great light is coming. This is important. We must be ready. Haru, Omoa, and Koivi stepped ashore. What a greeting they had received. And they looked around and they could tell these people needed to hear the story of Jesus. They needed it badly. This village was like any other cannibal village in the jungle, there in Papua New Guinea. Now, we've been using the word village. But really, they didn't have a village like what you might imagine, where a bunch of separate little huts, and every family or person or adult lived in their own little hut, and everybody met in the middle of the village to do their things. In Papua New Guinea, instead of having a bunch of separate huts, they all joined together and built one big house. They're called in English a longhouse, but in their language it's called a dubu. A dubu. And these long houses are long houses. Okay? So this building, can anybody tell me how long this building is? Do you know? 80 feet. This building is 80 feet. So that is less than 30 yards long. Okay? From that wall to that wall. An average minimum long house, dubu, in Papua New Guinea, in these villages, would be 100 yards long. So it would be more than 3 of these building lengths, all in one long building, raised up on stilts above the ground, totally covered over, barely any windows, very dark inside, and they would do their cooking inside there, they would do their living inside there, they would do their sleeping inside there. They would keep their pigs and their dogs inside there if it was too rainy. So you can imagine what it must smell like inside a dubu, with hundreds of families living inside this area, and maybe just with a couple doors to let a little bit of air in. Quite a smell, no? On top of that, keep in mind that the natives really didn't see any point in bathing. In fact, if your skin was itchy, or you just felt like you didn't like the way your skin looked, the way that you bathed was you would take the grease from a pig and rub it on your body. Make it nice and slippery, which was good because it would make you harder to catch in case somebody tried to get you, which we'll talk about in a minute. So the pig grease added another layer of smell. Plus, the people cooked with fires. That filled the longhouses with smoke. And then on top of that, they smoked cigarettes if they could ever get them. And they would chew betel nut, which was the material made from a plant they would chew, and then they would spit this red juice, and they just spit it wherever they happened to be. It didn't matter. And so the village, the longhouse, the dubu, was a filthy place. Pig poop and dog poop all over on the ground. And on top of that, when Haru, Omoa, and Koivi arrived at this particular village called Kumayo, there was another smell still going on in the air. The smell of cooking human flesh. They were cannibals. They would let their human flesh simmer. They would take whatever person they had killed and stick them into a long wooden tube and roast them slowly over the fire. Or they would put them under the ground and bury it with coals and let them just heat up for hours and hours. And that smell would be everywhere. So Haru stepped ashore to these natives, clapping, excited to see them, because great light was coming, and Haru thought they need that light. They need the story of Jesus. Jesus needs to turn this place around. So Haru pulled out his picture scroll, and Omoa and Koivi had the Bible out, and they began talking to the people, telling them the story of Jesus. And this time, the people were all there. Every single person was there and interested and listening and looking. But then as they kept talking, the people started kind of getting a little bored. Some of them kind of, not being distracted. And that's when an old man at the back of the group began yelling. He began yelling like this. My people, it's true. Listen, it's true. And then the people would all stop what they were doing to be distracted and then pay attention again. And Haru thought, well, that's helpful, I guess. But why is he saying that? Okay, so he kept on talking about the story of Jesus. And he preached for a couple of hours. And during that time, every 10, 15 minutes, the man in the back would stand up and call out, yes, this is true. It is true. Listen, my people. It was getting a little bit distracting, a little bit annoying almost. Haru didn't know why this man would be saying this. So finally, when he was done preaching, he made sure to make his way to this man. An old man with a scraggly beard. And he went up to him and he said, yes, could I ask you a question? Yes, yes. He said, have you heard the story of Jesus before? No. No, I mean, certainly, maybe somebody has mentioned the name Jesus before. No. Okay, can I please ask you, how do you know it's true then? You kept yelling, it's true. Listen, my people, how could you possibly know that? Why would you say that? I tell you, my name, Doni. I am chief of village. I chief of village for many years. Strongest man, hunter. I lead my people. When we go steal food in the mountains. Wait, just a minute, Haru said. What do you mean steal food in the mountains? We go to mountain tribes. From here, Turama River, we go hunting. Mountain tribes steal food. And that's when Omoa leaned over to Haru, whispered in his ear, and says, when he's saying steal food, he means that they go and they capture people to eat. But sometime, and they would make a gesture to try to refer to in the past, sometime, I feel, what if mountain come steal from us? Mountain people come steal from my people, take my children. Feel bad. Doni was trying to convey that he had started to realize, hey, when he would go and steal food, people from other villages, that was people that were related to other people there. It was causing sadness. It was causing them to feel fear. And he started to think, what if somebody did that to me? I would feel scared. I would feel sad too. Something was starting to happen in Doni's heart. I feel not right. Then one night, in Longhouse, in Dubu, I sleeping, family, sleeping, dark. Then light, bright, so bright. Open eyes, look up, roof gone. All Dubu roof gone. And down through hole, large hand reaching Doni. Doni say, what do you want? We'll find out tomorrow what happened.